everyone. Nice to see you, and especially some familiar faces here. Our today webinar or maybe discussion will be in English, because today with us here is Arik, our expert from the course that we will present you today. Arik, hi.
Hey everyone.
I need to make sure that you are switch on your subtitles. Here, Arik, a couple of words in Russian for our audience who don't understand maybe English very well. Ребята и мальчики, извините, мужчины, леди и джентльмены, нам нужно включить субтитры внизу. Пожалуйста, посмотрите на вашу панель управления, там внизу есть такая CC, это субтитры. Нужно открыть по выпадающей стрелочке, выбрать перевод и выбрать язык субтитров русский, для того, чтобы у вас появился автоматический перевод. Пожалуйста, отметьте в чате, у кого это получилось, и мы двинемся дальше. Если у вас это не получается, тоже либо голосом, либо руками пишите в чат. Ага. И я попрошу Анастасию, нашего координатора, написать инструкцию небольшую в этот же чат сейчас про то, как мы настраиваем субтитры. Okay, Arik, we need to manage subtitle problem. Now it's okay. I see that our participants are managed it. Okay, we're fine. Today with me is Arik, our expert in the course on futurology and trend analysis. And let me show you our page of this course and introduce it to you a little bit. Yeah. Okay. This course is this course starts on June 3rd, 2 июня, and we will be held entirely online. Participants will learn to work with the framework of the future and study tools for engaging with this very future. Additionally, those who will complete successfully the course will receive a professional development certificate and a certificate from the Design Thinking Center. Один государственного образца, второй коммерческий, скажем так. The program is unique for Russia, a kind of educational innovation. Currently, there is no other such educational program on the Russian market. We expect that after completing the course, our listeners will master new tools, such as foresight based on Stanford methodology, and will gain an understanding of how to identify trends and work with them for the benefit of their company and possibly their personal and professional trajectory. And they will become futurists and trend watchers themselves. On our course, there will be about more than a dozen different experts from different countries and fields of work. Yeah, that's mostly all that I wanted to say. Let me check my notes. I wanted to show you this QR code, which is the link to this landing, so you can read through it more slowly and carefully and find something interesting for you about this course and break it down. What do you want and need to know? And in the end of this webinar, I will show you the promo code on some discount for this course. So, yeah, that will be all for now. Let me get back to Arik. Arik is a futurologist and strategist, and he have a great experience in this field of work. Here, I will share my screen. Do you see the slide, the presentation? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Arik, word to you. Tell us, please, about yourself and your trajectory, and what are you working on now?
You started with the most hardest question is where do you formulate an answer? Who are you? So I think the personal journey is interesting. I'm 50. My wife and I, we have 4 kids. The youngest one is over 18, so we are in 2 weeks. She's finishing high school, and we are left home alone when she's moving to university. We live in Sweden, and we are moving this summer to Bulgaria, where my wife is from. I think I'm dyslexic and dysgraphic, and born somewhere in the 70s, you know, dyslexia and dysgraphia was not on anyone's table, so I was just considered lazy in school. The fact that I couldn't read and was not able to formulate letters, it was just laziness. And I really struggled in school to the point that I needed to teach myself how to read. And we don't need to go for the process there, but I did pick up Jules Verne, a series of books, as a way to teach myself how to read, and was captivated by the future. And I think if I wasn't dyslexic, if the school systems would have actually able to help me, I'm not sure we would have had this conversation now. And everything I did in life was driven from that curiosity of, you know, how the future can actually look like if we will pay a little bit more attention to it. And my entire career is based on, I was always keen to apply for jobs that I never had before, as it's another step of learning something new. So I know I find myself in 2024 sitting on a very interesting junction of having a background working with development, technology, network, marketing, communication, and business strategy, which gives me, from my point of view, a unique advantage of being able to see an organization from a 360 degrees. So I don't just focus on, look what AIs can do today. Wow. It's the focus by sitting on 360 degrees circles is the ability to understand impact lines and value in a completely different way. So I think that's how I will capture my story.
Mm-hmm. So I guess that you know what is really nice to hear for me, privately, that you have 4 kids. That means that expert in the future, looking forward with the optimism, and it's this is really great now, I guess.
I mean, I had a conversation about it today, and I'm saying I'm 80% optimistic and 20% pessimistic, and I measure them equally, because you cannot just be optimistic. And seriously, when you get a phone call from the police 1 o'clock at night because your son decided to get drunk with a party on friends, I mean, you're not really optimistic at that moment of time. I think the journey my wife and I had with the kids was driven from both of our experiences, and we gave our kids a set of rules, and we pushed them towards a life of experimentations and experiences more than a life of ownership. And we do feel that, like any other parents, there are always up and downs, but we're very proud that all of our 4 kids, and they are very, very different personalities, which we couldn't ask for better than that.
Great. And how do you think this approach will be helpful for them in the future?
I mean, we give our kids a set of rules. If you really think about it, the first things that we tell our kids when they learn how to walk is don't run, don't touch, don't do that. And we try to do a little bit different. Instead of like forbidding everything, it says like everything is allowed. You have to go and experience everything. And even if you hurt yourself, it's absolutely good. Just don't kill yourself and don't kill others in the process. And we really see that, I mean, first we have a very, very good communication with our kids today. And I cannot say that, we had a perfect communications with the kids when we were like, annoying teenagers in the age of 13, 14. That was awful. But they came to the age of 18 to 22 and they call us when they have a problem. They call us for advice. They realize that, society is not to be taken for granted. I think the biggest lesson we try to teach them is the ability to understand is that it's not our eyes that really see the world. It's really our brain that sees the world. And as such, they need to have their own opinion on everything and not listen to other people's opinion. They need to formulate and follow their mindset, their logic, and not fall into the trap that is called societal pressure.
How do you think, can we project this strategy on bigger models, not only personal growth, but on organization and society processes?
I think this is a questions for leadership and for culture, organization culture. You can look at organizations like, take AT&T, for example, top of my head. You can really see the corporate culture is not driven by a freedom to experiment. It's really not. It's driven by a set of boxes that are given to the employees. In that sense, if we follow the media industry, let's look at all of the cable companies. Their inability to experiment gave way to the rise of company like Netflix, like Hulu, like YouTube. On the other hand, take a media company that was driven by an amazing leadership, and that small media company is called Pixar. And you see the culture that was driven by the 3 founders of Pixar's, until today. And it makes you wonder why aren't more organizations are capable of looking into the Pixar journey, picking up the building block that made Pixar, and trying to introduce this building block to their organizations. And it comes down to, to a single word, which is leadership. And I fear that we live in a little bit of confusing world where I ask myself, who do I want to follow? Because Steve Jobs died, and Bill Gates, he cares about other things. Elon Musk, wonderful leader, but he doesn't give a crap about Earth. He wants to build a sustainable society over on Mars. Larry Ellison left. So who do you follow? Do you follow Mark Zuckerberg? Do you follow Satya Nadella? Do they have the assertiveness of leaderships? Would you like to follow? They definitely have assertiveness to build their own companies, but can they lead society into the next iterations of changes? No. So there is a leadership gap, at least within the technological landscape. And I'm not even touching global politics at the moment, because for me, it's just one big circus. The biggest problem that we have today is a problem of leadership, in both in politics and in the business world.
And how can we work with this problem? Where should we start, and how can we get through it?
Education. Everyone is talking about innovation these days. but the first step is actually education. So the question is, how do we rethink the narrative of learning and education? I mean, most academic institutes that exist out there, they are literally the oldest business model and the business organizations on the planet. Take the Ivy League of any university that out there today, see where they started, and you can understand, you know, where we are going. And even today in 2024, we are still teaching students professions that are applicable for days gone by and not really for what's lays ahead in front of us. So the first thing is really education. The second, before we even jump into innovation, is to understand the fundamental difference between impact and value. And I see a lot of these leaders, a lot of different people are actually confusing these two terms. And as such, even so they have good intentions, everything falls apart. And from my point of view, impact is a process. It's a line. And I think the best example, if you will pick up your smartphone that you have in your pocket, and I mean, it's amazing when you look at the announcements from OpenAI and Google Gemini, and when you look what Microsoft built yesterday, and you get 2 days ago, and you get an amazing set of computation power in your hand. But when you try to dissect it and reverse engineer it to understand, I mean, where is it coming from? We are still working on the same impact line that came to life with the Gutenberg press, with the first printout of the Bible. I mean, the phone enables you access to information, the same thing the printing press did. And on that impact line, yes, there are a lot of value points that are generated. So it was the computer, the personal computer, it was algorithms, it was the smartphone, and you have to ask, you know, impact line peaks at a certain point. So what is the new impact line of interacting with data? Is it the current trajectory of integrating mobile phones and AI? Absolutely not, because AI on top of mobile phone or on a personal computer, it's still a volume point on the same impact line. When you look at Neuralink and what they're doing of bringing the internet to your brain, that's the creation of a new impact line. Yes, it's just in the beginning, but we need the same way we focus on creating values on impact lines. We need to understand how we can actually create and work on new impact lines that can carry us beyond the current models that exist out there.
And how can we develop such flexibility that will help us make such fundamental changes? Because our modern paradigm of work with information is really established centuries ago. And can we change it so quickly? Because I guess we have a great impulse here from the middle centuries.
Well, the foundation of any change is the infrastructure that the change can actually flourish on. And I think the current global geopolitics is actually creating a parallel infrastructure that will enable few of these ideas to prosper. And I mean, if you're looking at the current monetary systems and the slow but surely emergence of a BRICS monetary system, I mean, when positioned and played correctly, I think that platform would enable us to test new hypotheses as an idea and to, frog leap certain type of challenges that happen. I mean, take it. We talked about Bulgaria, that we are moving to Bulgaria, and everyone asks always, why are you moving to the poorest country in the European Union? Well, because the people are the nicest. Let's start with that. Food is great, weather is great, but for my profession, they actually have the best technological infrastructure. What do you mean? They have, yes. So while Germany was busy deploying, old traditional network to establish internet connections, Bulgaria skipped the copper and went to fiber. So Bulgaria actually have the fastest, most stable internet connection in the entire European Union. as such, you see companies like IBM and the World Bank putting research up because of that technical infrastructure. So to start this change, we need, I mean, we are coming into a tipping point which we cannot continue and patch the current infrastructure that we are working on. We need to turn and realize we need a new infrastructures to test different type of an hypothesis on. And I think from my point of view, the BRICS create one hell of a unique opportunity to test few of these ideas.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great, thank you. And we have a question in chat. Can you give some example of these impact lines besides the work with information and the distribution of information? Maybe another line?
Automotive industry.
Yeah.
The impact lines dates back to the, to the Roman horse and carriage. So here's it's a story I like to tell. It's just a funny story, but when you look into after NASA abandoned the Saturn V and created the space shuttle because it was so much more sophisticated than the Saturn program. And so the entire dynamic calculations of the shuttle was based on the distance between the boosters. And the reason it was that distance between the boosters was that distance because was the rail that led the boosters, into the launch pad. And the distance, the size of the rail is the same size. It's based on the railroads that we had in Europe so many years ago. And where did the European actually put these rails? They put them on the same roads that the Romans paved walking across Europe with horse and carriage. And what was the size? It was the distance between two horses' asses. So yes, we put on the man and the moon based on the calculations between two horses' asses, the same impact line, and you see the different value points that are created over there. A new impact line will be teleportations because the impact line is not really for mobility, it's not for transportation, it's for human logistics. And if you're looking at logistics, then the next impact line is teleportations. And you can see quantum teleportations already coming into life, yes, on a very, very micro scales, but we are more and more proving the concept. So that is another examples to look into that. Go to the AI, right? AI is working on the impact line of curating books in libraries. The same way we curated books in libraries, this is how we curate the data that the impact line can go about. And what did we do in libraries? We censors books that we didn't want people to access to. So when you're asking the chat a question today is based on the censorship model that were introduced to the library. So, and you can find these examples, different aspects of life.
The example with the distance between horses' asses is a really great historical anecdote. Thank you for bringing it up. It's real funny, and the impact of this measurement is great in our technologies.
Think about it like that. How do you design a city today? Unfortunately, the first thing you do is you pave the central road of the city, right? And that road is there to fit a chassis of a car, one lane, which is again the distance between two horses' asses. That's how we build future cities.
How come so that in this so predictable and determined world we have this amount of uncertainty and fast changes today?
Are they really uncertain? Yes, things are moving fast. But let's pick up on AI because it's a very interesting topic to look at. Wow, look what the AI can do today, and it's look at this bling bling and that bling bling. But I'm a huge fan of history, and when you really try to reverse engineer AI, you can go all the way back to to Talos and the Greeks. We always, as humans, we always needed something bigger than us to protect us, to justify certain action and behavior. So, the Greek created Talos, then we created religion, and now we have an AI. the fun part is most of the algorithms that are used in AI today, in all of this landscape of artificial intelligence, are predating 1983. What we do have today is we do have enough computation power to put these algorithms in the hands of users. I mean, that's the only things, but that is a linear progress. That is not a revolutionary progress.
So it's not about the new way, it's just about going faster somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about weather before we started this conversation, and I think that if you're talking about unpredicted world and uncertainty, is that think about the fact that climate is what you expect and weather is what you get. We still try to predict the weather instead of working with the bigger models of climate. So I cannot say that. I mean, okay, no one could have predicted that the helicopter of the president of Iran is going to crash as he did 2 or 3 days ago, right? But these are just small deviations on a very, very predictable, stable trajectory that if you step far enough, you can actually see it. And I think that's the secret. Most leaders and CEOs that I meet, they focus on the next quarter. So they try to focus on the details. They never step far away enough of the problem to place that problem in a bigger context. And when you look at things from a distance, a lot of the shifts that happen right now are very much predictable.
So this is the answer to developing strategy.
The answer for developing strategy is always to move as far as you can from your origin point and try to understand the contextual placement of the different elements that you are trying to deploy. We live in a world that people confuse strategy and tactic, and very sad, but that's the reality. And whenever I see, oh, here is a 150-page strategy for McKinsey, Boston Consultants Group, Deloitte. I mean, 150 pages, I'm sorry, that's not a strategy. That is an implementation plan. That is a tactic. Strategy should be 1 page. Strategy should, answer 2 things. This is what we are going to do. This is why we are doing it. But we still focus mainly on the how before understanding the what and the why narratives. And again, constraints, business model challenges, educational heritage, we focus on the next quarter rather than stepping far enough to understand the context of things.
Maybe because it's not so scary. Because when you need to go far, you can go, far away from the fire and get lost.
Monsters are still monsters, even if you're viewing them from a distance. I think it's more. It's an issue of ego that exists with a lot of these leaders. Now, I'm a huge fan of ego. I think ego is what we all need to have in order to take assertiveness. But ego, I mean, when understood wrong, is what says, because I said so, because it wasn't invented here. That's not ego. That's something completely different. That's, that's being a sociopath in the end of the day. So we need to let our ego drive our ambitions, but not let it clutter our logical thinking. And I think when a lot of decisions that I see out there today are driven firstly by emotions, because I love the blue color, or, I like this. I don't want to do that. I mean, I'm just having a discussions with I'm supporting one company to execute a product with another company, and we're talking about 2 huge companies. And then you come into a middle management, and the middle management said, no, I don't think we're going to do it because I don't like this solution. Yeah, but you're not the user of that solution. But no, I don't like it. And I think this is the mentality that exists in so many organizations today that prevent this landscape to move forward.
How can we overcome this mentality if it's so dominated and dominating and widespread? Where should we start?
I have a very unpolitically correct answer to that, but I think each board of directors needs to do a personality test to the CEOs and make sure that they're bringing something between Steve Jobs and Elon Musk as the CEO of a company. I mean, we need people that focus on sustainable business model, on scalability, on innovation, on growth, not on, ridiculous things that are not important to the business. I mean, I've been in a lot of discussions when they're talking about diversity. How many women engineers, how many man engineers? I mean, I don't give a crap how many women and man engineers. Do we actually have the best engineers? I mean, the first thing I would do is actually start formulating relevant questions for the business and the business position in the future before I jump into solution. But we are very, very, very fast trying to engineer solutions before we're actually asking the relevant questions. So that, again, goes back to leadership, I would imagine.
Yeah, like it's a cornerstone of this problem. Is it?
Yeah, the cornerstone of this problem is leadership, a gap of knowledge, ignorance. Yes.
So the human nature is our main problem.
Yeah.
That's I guess maybe you can find something more optimistic in your sleeves to answer this question, because how can we change human nature fast enough to invent new ways to adapt?
I mean, I think that we already know to answer, and I mean, Darwinism, will prevail here. Idiots will die, and smart people will survive. It's very, very, very simple. And the case is of companies like Nokia and Kodak that slowly faded away. Look what happened to CNN, for example, faded away, versus companies like, Netflix, Hulu. I mean, the only thing that holds Disney Plus in the end of the day is actually is the ability to work with Hulu and to let Hulu integrate into a good way. But a lot of the current organizations that exist out there today simply don't understand the next evolutions of policy, society, and technology. And as such, if we're going to have this discussion 50 years from now, the Fortune 100 landscape will fundamentally be different of what it is today. When you're looking into the automotive landscape, we are looking into how the Chinese are using a very, very aggressive strategy to take over the traditional OEMs. And the only weapon that the traditional OEM are having against it is literally price war that they cannot compete with against the Chinese. So you have to ask, I mean, companies like Mercedes, Ford, General Motors, will they exist 10 years from now? I believe that they will be shrunk down dramatically in the next few years because of their inability to cope up with the constant changing landscape that is not, the rules are not dictated by them. And again, go back to the media, look at what Netflix did to this entire industry. And we can talk about, I mean, Uber and Airbnb. Even so here, there were few very interesting adaptations by the market. So, I mean, when you book an Uber in certain countries in Europe, the execution of your journey will be handled by a local taxi company due to agreement. I mean, more and more hotel chains are buying apartments so they can put them on Airbnb. So these are small adaptations that actually happen there. I think Airbnb is a beautiful example of adaptation. I mean, after COVID, which so much of the real estate companies out there collapsed, Airbnb didn't only emerge strong after COVID, it's also debuted on the Fortune 500 company. And that's due to the the ability to understand, hey, we don't know. Let's go and learn. Let's get the data. Let's get the facts. Let's formulate our solutions. Let's test the solutions. Let's deploy the solutions. And you can see the results. You can clearly see these results. And I think the power of partnership is one of the biggest power that exists out there, that so many of the leaders are, I mean, they don't understand at this moment. And if you look at Universal Studios and Nintendo, I mean, it's a not logical partnership, right? It's from completely two different industry segments. Well, both entertainment, but very, very different segments. And I mean, their partnership on theme park, I think it yields $288 million in revenues in the first year of operation. So, I mean, we need to understand that, I mean, in so many books you read that in the next, the last 20 years, we achieved so much more than we achieved in the last 200 years. I mean, but in the next 5 minutes, we're going to achieve so much more that we have done in the last 2 years. And I think that's the mindset that people need to have right now.
And it's all boils down to leadership again. I remember a book that I've read, and maybe I need to reread it. Otto Scharmer's U Theory about leadership from emerging future. And when you tell about the speed of processes and that leaders that need to grasp the speed, and that people that we don't have near the gears right now, so they can steer our progress towards anything interesting and fruitful. I see some picture in my mind. Like here we have really fast emerging future. It comes to us from everywhere. And if we develop this type of leadership in ourselves, in our companies, in our economic and political models, we can meet this future not when it's fall down on us, but on the halfway, or maybe even somewhere closer to this future. And this will be optimistic scenario, yeah? More interesting for us, and more beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, I think the important thing that we need to remember that, number one, the future is not set in stone, and the second is that there is one past, but there are multiple futures.
Exactly. So when we are going toward this future, we modify it. Like when we in this physics law, when we look on the system, we already mess with it and change the results of our observations. So here with the future, it's in some superposition, and we can I forgot the word, like collapse it one way or another, more or less.
The observer theory is extremely powerful metaphor here, and I think I often I often talk to leaders about Schrodinger's cat, right? The cat in the box, and the problem that we have is everyone understand, right? You have a cat, it's in the box, there is poison, is the cat alive or dead? 50%. We need to open the box to see if the cat is alive and dead, and everyone is afraid to open the box. We don't want to open the box because what if the cat is dead? Or what if the cat is alive? I have a fear of cat. And I think that's the stagnation point, when you're afraid to look inside the box. And when you put yourself in this position, you're missing the point. Exactly like you said. I mean, there are multiple futures that we can navigate to, but we are afraid of taking this first step. Because what if we are going to land in the future that is not the future that we intended? It's not desirable. And this is, again, it's not a leadership problem, it's a human nature problem, because we are all afraid to do that. And I mean, that goes back to assertiveness, goes back to the education, to the societal structures that we actually live in. I mean,
so we need to be less afraid of making mistakes.
We should be definitely not be afraid of making mistakes. We should never celebrate mistakes. I mean, fuck up nights in Silicon Valley is one of the worst ideas I ever came across. Why the hell do you celebrate your failures? Learn from your failures, celebrate your success. But I mean, failures is part of life, and we tend to forget it. I mean, I how many times I'm asking, you know, when I'm working with groups, and then go and observe babies. I mean, babies try to stand up and they fall. Do they stay on the floor? No, they start again and they start again. I mean, Bruce Lee quote, you know, it doesn't matter the 1,000 times you failed, it matters the 1,000 times that the one time that you actually stood up. And people in certain parts of the world are terrified of failures. And for me, that fear is what kills ambition, it kills innovation, it kills curiosity. Not understanding that it's only through failure that we actually become stronger and we can emerge and handle any type of uncertainty that, you know, the world or the business is going to throw at us.
I've just I want to ask one question, but I think that it's not relevant because it will bring us somewhere not very close to this discussion, because it's maybe too rhetorical. But when you talk about the mistakes and Darwinism, maybe you know, if we can look on this on a bigger scale, maybe all our this civilization cycle is something like a mistake, and we need to learn from it, and to prevent in the future cycles this type of leadership and growth based on the fear of mistakes. But
it's a rhetorical question, and I fully agree with what you said now.
You are fully agree, but it's rhetorical.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. To some more closer to the ground questions.
Shoot.
Michael asked, when we try to realize higher level context, I guess this is about types of the future that emerge, and we see many aspects to consider. How can you select particular aspects? Is it guessing, or you follow some general approach?
No, I don't guess. I mean, everything I do is needs to be anchored in data. And I have 3 questions when I looked into any of the tasks that I have in front of me. I ask, do I want to modify the current situation? Do I want to change the current situation? Or do I want to drive transformation in the current situation? And then I give enough weight to each of the answers. Now, coming as a futurologist, bringing strategic and creative baggage into any environment, obviously my idea is always to let's drive transformation. It doesn't work. Most of organizations are not ready to talk about transformation. So you need to, okay, you build 2 parallel tracks next to each other. One of them is driven by a tactical, you know, modification and changes. And just for you to understand, so I'll take this glass, right? I will modify the glass and I will put a handle on it. That is a modification of a product. It's still a glass, but I modified the way I'm handling the glass, and that's enabled me suddenly to take warmer drinks because I can hold it through the handle, or I can take beer, I can bang it on the table. It gives a different set of behaviors that can actually monetize in a short duration in the journey. Now I will take this glass and I will change the material for metal. So I didn't modify the structure, I just changed the material. It's still a glass, but now it can hold cold water for 12 hours and hot water for 6 hours. Still a glass. Or I completely rethink the narrative of consuming liquids. That is transformation. So every task I do, I look from these three horizons and I see, okay, what does it require from, I mean, when you look into the decision-making process that we all go through and try to take what I say now and try to throw it into every aspect of your life, I mean, you can recognize it in your personal life and your business life. I mean, our starting point is we are unaware of a problem, right? We are unaware of a problem. And there is a journey that we need to take of being unaware. Now we are aware of the problem. That journey is analytical by nature. So if you have a manager, a CEO that you engage, a board of director, management, and they are unaware of the need to drive change. It doesn't matter if it's through modification, change, or transformation. They're unaware of that. The answer is analytical. If we are going to do that, we are going to add $2 billion to our bottom line. It's an analytical journey that we do. Now, the gap is a gap of knowledge. They don't know what happens. So you close the gap of knowledge by taking the analytical track. So now you're aware of a problem. Now you're in the first moment of decision making, and you want to go to the second moment of decision making. Now you're falling into the trap of inductive abilities. I feel stupid. I don't understand the problem. I don't agree. It's your emotional brain that kicks in, and the solution is
5 steps. Exactly.
It's like, this is the worst part. Yes, we understand there is a problem, but inside we are fucking scared of executing that. So you have the challenge, the journey between the first moment and the second moment is emotional, and you're doing it by anchoring their inductive abilities into the track. Then you want to go from the second moment of decision making. Now I understand, I'm all in, I want to take decisions, but I don't have resources, I don't have time. How do I do that? So here is the solution is actually incentives and culture, and try to throw this journey at everything that you do in life. I mean, I'll tell all of you now, that everyone that listens to these conversations, I can tell you that in 3 months, you are going to be able to run a 50-kilometer ultra marathon. You are unaware that you're capable of doing that, right? And I will take you through this process, and you're going to get stuck on emotional, absolutely not, or in the resources problem, because the analytical is the very easy problem to come in close. I mean, you will feel healthy, you will be great, you will do something that only 10% of the world population did. It's great, but you will end up in these resources. And here it's incentive. So an incentive can be translated in many, many ways. And that's the decision-making process that you need to go through when you're, regardless if you're going through modification, change, or transformation. And through that, you understand how to map the constraints you have on your execution. And we are doing it very, very fast on something that, we need to show some image about somehow.
It's a huge amount of work you talk about.
I mean, you have to understand, take my few of the projects I had in Volvo. And traditionally, I will call executive management, and that's director to vice president into a room when I want to execute a project. And yes, in theory, you will call to a meeting and you present your idea, and in a very analytical way, show the results, and you will ask, can we take decisions? No, it doesn't work like that. You will need to have an individual meeting with them, so they will feel that they have the knowledge and they feel secure to sit in a room knowing that they are not stupid, not feeling that they are not. Yes, I mean, but that's how you work with these organizations. I mean, my team and I, we work different, but the fact is that if we are unaware of a problem, we are taking the analytic approach, then obviously we are going naturally from the emotional approach, and then we figure out, do we have the resources, don't have the resources to execute. I don't have any resources to run transformation. Good. What are the modification steps I need to do in order to get to this transformative layer that I'm looking for?
And here, let me get back to the question of Michael. With this example of the glass, you can change color, material, softness, size, etc. How do you select the right aspect to focus? The first one. How can you prioritize them? Or every this aspect is tactical, and you need to redevelop the model of liquid ingestion.
Oh, you're stepping into, I mean, the answer for that can take hours. I mean, it's the horizontal plane that we are looking to achieve when we're looking into where do we put the focus. The methods that I like to use is we don't put the focus on one aspect. So we design an MVP, and an MVP that's not minimum viable product, that's maximum viable product. So it's the maximum viable product I can deploy in the next 10 days. So we work in these 10 days sprints to test different hypotheses. So the first thing I do before I even start to work on that is I develop a series of 10 questions. Each question I'm running a 10-day sprint on, in order to formulate what is working and what is actually not working. I don't like pre-studies because I like doing, because pre-study will give you what to do or not what to do, and doing you will learn what you shouldn't do, and when you end up the process, you actually have a product in your hand. So it makes much more sense. What I do like to work with a lot, and I don't start any project without that, it's establishing a direct feedback loop between the users of the product, of the process, of the service, to the team that is actually developing it. So there is I try to put the product in the hands of the end users as soon as possible to create this direct feedback loop and to work with them to define the next level of iteration.
Mm-hmm. My internet connection is a little bit jumpy, but I heard your last part. And thank you for sharing this 10 days sprint framework. It's really interesting. And the concept of maximum viable product is really interesting, because it's kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah, why should we work on minimum when we can work on maximum?
Learn to do.
I mean, I work as an advisor. I work as a consultant. I mean, why will I give my client minimum when I can give them the maximum? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's a great point. Let me ask you this, and I guess that will be last question before the last question about frameworks that we leave ourselves for the,
yes,
like a dessert. When you can understand that you are going the wrong way.
When do you understand that you're going the wrong way?
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't understand you're going the wrong way until you emerge on the other side. I mean,
but you really need to this is one of the superpowers of the leaders, I guess, know when to stop, not to press onwards, not seeing any obstacles, and no, okay, you know what I'm saying about. But what I'm talking about, but to know when to stop and to say, oh, okay, I wasn't right enough. We are going too far this way, and we need to stop and turn back.
I mean, that's why I like to work in these 10-day sprints, because it's enabled us to test hypothesis in a relatively short amount of time before you spend too much money and resources on a project that, you know, doesn't make any sense. I think metaphorically, I would say, look above you. If the ceiling is from glass, you can still continue because it's easy to shatter a glass ceiling. But if it's concrete, stop. Don't continue. I mean, I've went the wrong way many times, and I pushed forwards, even though I should have stopped, because I really believe in today in an ideas, and I mean, completely, I mean, the ego played. I mean, your idea is so good, it doesn't matter there is COVID, it doesn't matter there is inflation, people are going to buy it. No, it did matter that there is COVID, it did matter that there is inflation. And I think the solution here is to never stop learning, never stop experimenting, never stop establishing direct feedback loop, never stop starting every day with the mindset is like, I know nothing. Today I'm going to learn something. And we so often, you know, coming to projects thinking that we know everything. But if we come to project thinking like, you know, we are here to learn more than anything, we will be able to execute much better. So that will be my recommendation here.
Is your team helpful here when you need to shake off some of your ego?
Of course. The rules of building a good team. Collect your team together, put them in the room. If you're the smartest person in the room, number one, you're in the wrong room and you chose the team wrongly. Okay, make sure that your team can slap you in the head once a day at least, and not be afraid to tell you that this is stupid. Right? Don't have yes men or yes women around you. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And always have at least one very, very skeptical mindset in the room. So whenever we do a session, we always different person is appointed as the devil advocate to challenge everything that we do. And for me, that's the best way of running a team.
Great, thank you. We've discussed with my colleague today the term parousia. It's Greek term that determine the man who can tell the king that he is wrong. And this is, for the smart ruler, the most wanted man around him, because he will secure the ruler from the big mistakes.
I mean, remember the kid that was shouting that the king is naked?
Yeah.
We have to, I mean, someone needs to tell the king that he's naked. So yeah, you always need to have someone around you that is not afraid to tell you what they think.
Okay, and to the frameworks.
Shoot.
What frameworks in our any other or our organization we should adapt to effectively work with the future?
So, I mean, I usually refer people to the Lord of the Ring. The idea of one ring to rule them all doesn't really exist. So the one framework to rule them all doesn't really exist. I think design thinking is a great example of a framework that is completely misunderstood. And I mean, IDEO made a lot of money from the design thinking approach, and I see manufacturing companies trying to implement design thinking. I'm like, why? I mean, design thinking doesn't fit a manufacturing environment. No, we will make it fit. You know, we will build around it. So it doesn't matter if you think like, you know, if it's Delphi, if it's Vroom, if it's, pro and cons, if it's SWOT analysis, whatever framework you're going to take. I think the most important here is to fit the framework for the organization and not design the organization around the framework. It's the same recommendations that I have to companies that are, what is everyone doing today? Let's take ChatGPT and implement it in the organization. Why? Because McKinsey said so. Because everyone else is doing so. But then that means we design an entire service around a product that we didn't build, a technology that we don't own, a data set that doesn't belong to us. And it's the same idea that happens when you're trying to bring agile or holacracy or waterfall or any type of other framework or methodology into your organization. You need to strip it naked from the power that shaped it and take the best building block in the framework and integrate it into your culture. If your culture is strong enough, it can actually work with the framework. Don't try to design your entire mindset around a framework that you were not even part of building. What I'm telling, I would like every organization, let's say we chose the Delphi method. I would like to see, okay, it's the Delphi methods by Microsoft. I would like to see the Delphi methods by Apple, the Delphi methods by Google. It's not just, it's by the organizations. It has to be part of the organization DNA rather than the organization needs to change their DNA to fit into something that was developed. You're talking about, take any company in Russia today. They will try and says like, okay, let's take the SWOT analysis. The SWOT analysis was creating on an American culture. It doesn't fit the Russian culture. Why are you fighting to put it? Because American companies grew up on that, but it's not the same corporate culture. So what are the best thing on the SWOT analysis that fits the Russian culture that can actually bring strength into the SWOT analysis? Let's do it that way. So that's how I see frameworks.
So there is no silver bullet. You need to try everything and make something for yourself at the end.
Exactly. You need to pick up the best of what is actually working in your organization and fit the framework to your organizations, not the opposite.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And the question that I postponed from our audience, I will read it out loud. Dear Arik, could you please tell us where you studied futurology and why did you decide to become a futurologist?
Oh, I'm very shitty of doing anything else. So I don't think I chose to study. Number one, okay, so I never finished university because I kept changing the courses. Whenever I got enough from one course and says, okay, I understand, good. This course interests me more. So I went from, development to network engineering to marketing to quantum physics to history. And I think it's the accumulation of the journey. I think, seriously, futurology is not a profession, it's a personality. More than anything. It's like you don't, I'm always laughing. I'm going to do a session with the students for innovation and entrepreneurship at the local university here. And it's the master program. And the professor that is running the program and I were very good friends. And I'm always telling him, can I beat you around about still calling it entrepreneurship? You don't teach an entrepreneurship. It's something that is driving you from within to do things. People think like carpenters are not entrepreneurs. People that went to the forest and built an entire off-the-grid house. Of course, they're entrepreneurs. They have done something that no one else did for them. Something drove them. So futurology is really a personality more than anything else. But under this personality, you need to know your history and you need to understand technology. You need to understand marketing. You need to understand psychology and cognitive psychology, and you need to understand nudge theory. And these are the things that I keep learning on daily basis in order to keep call myself a futurologist.
Okay, and you really cover this topic, because the second question is, what is need to become a successful futurologist? And the answer is you can do anything else and you are good at it.
Yeah. I think so you have to understand that when you position yourself as a futurologist, it's a very, very lonely position, because your engagements with companies is based on the fact that you don't believe that they know what they are talking about, and you have a better way of doing it. I mean, you don't need 1,000 clients, you need one client that believes in you and you can work. So, I mean, the journey is, it is a lonely journey, especially in a company like Volvo. When you're talking to them, the future of is not about selling cars, the future is engagements more than anything. But I mean, you need this inner drive to constantly learn new things. Because, I mean, if you finish university and you have a PhD in computer science and you call yourself a futurologist and you haven't read a single article about software development since you finish, or how software is evolving the pharmaceutical industry or the healthcare industry, how, I mean, I'm completely fascinated by history and digital geopolitics. So, I mean, you need to be able to find the time gaps to constantly increase your knowledge. If you don't have that one, don't even step into this arena.
Okay, I guess that today, after this webinar, many people will want to keep you company in this journey, because you are very interesting.
Everyone is welcome.
Okay, so now we have time for questions from our audience. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and I will give you the microphone, or you can bring it to the chat. Because I have one question from me that we that we marked as discussable. Oh, Michael, please.
Yeah. Hi, Eric. Thank you for your, for this discussion, for this lecture, I would say. Very interesting. Thank you. My question is the following. So you're a consultant, right? And you consult leaders on what is going to happen, right?
Among other things, yes.
Yeah. So, some managers or leaders are making their decisions on basis of such statements.
Yes.
What if you are wrong?
So, funny enough, my moral working ground is to partner with companies on the journeys that we are suggesting them to follow. It's our own name and commitment on the line. We never partner with companies that come and tell us, hey, tell us what to do things for us. I will never step into any company and pretend to understand their business more than they don't know their business. So we spend time learning the business. I spend time with the company, with the leaders, learning the business, the day-to-day activity, formulating certain hypotheses, testing them with the team, creating this. Again, this is the 10 days sprints that we are working. So we have a vision that we are aiming for, but to fulfill that vision, that transformative trajectory, we are introducing a lot of small modification and changes. So we are dissecting them small enough that if one of the sprint is failing, the rest of the 99 are still continuing on track. We are carefully choosing the clients that understand this way of working. So we work together with the clients, not with them. As such, we don't call ourselves consultants, but more advisors.
Okay, thank you very much.
And if I correctly understand the projection of observation theory on futurology, you help to emerge this future that you believe in. So you will never 100% wrong. You can bring something closer. When you try to grasp it, you will go in this direction, and this future will happen statistically more.
I mean, my job as a futurologist at the first iteration of the engagement is to describe a set of potential futures that could happen, and then work with the leadership team and the management team of the company to help design the future that should happen. So first we do what could happen, and this is what should happen. And we are never afraid to change trajectory. I mean, just today I had a meeting that I came with a certain hypothesis. I introduced the hypothesis to the client. The client contributed me and introduced a better solution, and says, that's actually a much better way of doing that. Let's work that way. I mean, very, very, very simple. We are coming with hypotheses and questions before we are actually giving the answers.
Great. That was very interesting. Any other questions? Our time is up. 3 minutes left. If there is no other question, I will bring mine up. What about the anxiety about the future? I know that there is some research that show us that many people really afraid of the future now. The amount of the people who are afraid is rising.
I lost
anxiety yourself or in your team?
Your internet connection was not so stable, so I just heard more and more people are afraid of the future right now. I didn't hear the rest of the question. Anton?
I'm sorry, something happened with my connection. Can you hear me now?
Now I hear you. Now you can. The last thing I heard was that a lot of people, more and more people are afraid.
Yes. The more people are afraid, and the quantity is rising. And how are you manage this anxiety yourself or with your team when you know about the future more than others?
I mean, this is a very personal journey that each person needs to find their own way to cope with anxiety. We don't manage it in the team. We are sharing our individual anxiety, but I mean, we don't do kumbaya and group support. We don't have like a future anxiety support group.
Anonymous futurologist group.
I can share my personal journey, and my personal journey is talking to my wife about my fears from the future. We are sharing, and I do ultra running, and I find ultra running a very, very good meditation to get rid of any type of anxiety that exists out there. I fully agree. There is the rhetoric, the global geopolitical rhetoric right now is one that is encouraging fear a lot, but it's no different than the Inquisitions, the Spanish Inquisitions in the Middle Ages. It's no different than, the rising of the Catholic Church. It's no different than any other period of history. We always use a rhetoric because it's easier to control people that are afraid, that they are, fearing something. right now it's about it's a lot about, I mean, you have a third world war rhetoric out there, and then you have an AI will take your job rhetoric out there. And I think it's up to us as individuals to find our silver lining on how to actually handle that. There is no other way. There is no global system, except of going on Xanax, maybe, I don't know, but that just makes you addicted. So, but there isn't, I mean, it's part of the society. I mean, it was always part of human nature. There is no way around that. And I mean, we need to find our own way to handle that.
Thank you. So we will survive.
Of course, humanity will
survive that and
survive.
survive another rhetoric. Okay, and if you can answer one last question in the chat, do you have a few minutes more?
Yeah, of course,
Yeah?
no problem.
Did it happen that futurology projects became more short-term oriented after pandemics and in the world of current world conflicts?
I need a little bit clarification on this question. If Anastasia can explain the question.
Hi, Eric.
Hey.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you. It was really very interesting to listen to you. And my point is that like after pandemics and in the world of current world conflicts, I find that business companies don't go for long-term planning anymore.
Got it. I don't fully agree with that. I think that traditional companies, yes, they see the next quarter, they're afraid to invest, they're afraid to move forward. But look at the investment that Microsoft puts in OpenAI and in AI. I mean, that is a massive investment. Let's say like this, there are a lot of companies that compete, abandoned certain plans, but I see more and more companies that are introducing new moonshots and new more long trajectories of skunkworks. I mean, the entire Chinese automotive industry is a massive investment into the future. If you're looking at, and people miss the point because it's not about cars, it's more about energy. You will always find the companies that let's save money because we don't know what is going to happen. But if you really read between the lines, you will find these massive projects that are popping up because of these changes, specifically because of these changes. I mean, Elon Musk and his relationship to China and autonomous driving car, that is a massive project that Tesla is putting on the road this moment. And so he's not, I mean, he doesn't close or, China is going to go war against the United States. I think the media likes to talk about what we are cutting and not emphasizing about what we are introducing in this moment of time.
Thank you very much. And I also agree, it's also connected with the product cycle and many other things. And of course, it will be important for large corporations. But do you think maybe for like middle businesses, this is so about the shorter term project?
I think that the middle businesses are the businesses that mostly needs to think more holistically and about the future as this moment instead of the short term. But most of the leaders of these businesses are educated on their education background is telling them in time of crisis you need to tighten the pants. That is wrong because this crisis that we are facing right now is like no other crisis that we faced before. Simply, even so, automation is not something new. We do for the first time facing the possibility of beyond cognitive function automation. And that's must force, these type of things must force small business leaders to put at least 20, 25%, even 30% of their time having a more long-term holistic thinking. I'm not sure all of them are capable of doing that. And at least with what myself and my team are doing, this is really some of the messages that we are putting out there right now.
Thank you.
We've saw this holistic approach more not in small and middle businesses, but in NGOs and non-profit sector. These organizations, they suddenly became more interesting to work with because they are more flexible and they are open-minded and really interested in adapting more than in just surviving.
And it's not their money that they're spending, so it's much easier to work with them. It's their donator money that they're spending. Yes, but keep in mind that it's while you have, take Russia for example. List the Fortune 100, list the Fortune 500 companies just in Russia today, and then try to figure out what is the service layer that is feeding the Fortune 500. You will come up with a layer that you can call the Fortune 5000. If the Fortune 5000 fail, the Fortune 500 collapse because it's the 5000 that build the foundation that everyone else seeks about. And if the Fortune 5000 doesn't think about the future and they don't realize the changes that are happening right now, they are more prone to collapse. If they collapse, you have an economic meltdown.
Okay, thank you. That was really interesting, and thank you for sharing your vision and your thoughts. Very inspiring meeting for me and for our audience, I think. So I want to thank you, and I really looking forward to maybe other conversations or even, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking forward for the mess in the world to finish because we're really keen of going back to Russia.
So maybe we'll see you sooner.
Maybe, yeah. But it's like, yeah. I just want this mess to finish so people can go back to be people.
This is a great point in the end. Thank you.
My pleasure. Have a great day, guys.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.